Greetings, everyone. So, before I introduce myself, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation and thanks to the organizing and scientific committee of the International Scientific Conferences in Ukraine for inviting me to be their keynote speaker in the 6th International Scientific and Practical Conference entitled Psychological and Pedagogical Problems of Modern Specialist Formation. It is with a great honor that I will be sharing for the first time the most important key findings in my research entitled International Mobility and Multicultural Communication Erasmus Program. My name is Abir. I am an Algerian lecturer and research associate, currently head of Department of Foreign Languages and Translation Studies at the International Doctoral Distance School for Postgraduate Studies and Career Paths, associated to the Islamic University of Minnesota in the United States of America, SENEGAL branch. My research focuses on one main problem, that is in relation to a socio-cultural decline, which it is believed to be motivated by the notion of mobility. The background of our study focuses on Erasmus program, the effectiveness of cross-cultural training for expatriates and inclusive education. Our hypothesis motivates the fact that universities can contribute to a civic education if it organizes a connection between the experiential training and reflective approach characteristic of higher education. Our research will be focusing on an analysis of linguistic competencies, pluricultural and intercultural competencies, and how much is maintained in foreign settings. As a key conclusion, we will be discussing exploration of new geographic, social, and conceptual territories, exercising of new roles, introspection, and rite of passage for social recognition. Before we dive into the research, it's imperative to understand the foundation of Erasmus program, which has long represented the humanist aspect of the European project in relation to the technocratic construction of an economic union, a concrete space for the free movement of people and ideas in a reconciled Europe, as a counterpart to the commercial space. With the adoption of a political process of unification and in context to acute economic competition, Erasmus has taken on a more demanding educational mission within a larger project, that of Socrates' program, as an action for the construction of Europe according to the model of the learning society and in response to the challenges of the globalization of economy. So why using Erasmus program for unification? It is plainly put that unification via Erasmus serves to a lot of means and objectives. One of the main objectives would be operational flexibility. Operational flexibility ensures employability, instilling the foundation of an active European citizenship, understanding, promoting, and enhancing communicative and cultural education, which will lead to social intervention to support mobility. Eventually, it will help to implement student integration on a cultural educational level. The Erasmus program ensures internationalization of disciplinary education, provides experience to universality of knowledge, opens dialoguing with cultural policies, implements a sense of idealism in humanistic terms. The aim of the study. We were able to create the conditions for action research on this theme by offering Erasmus students a university training module entitled Erasmus Mobility and Intercultural Communication, We wish to report on this experience by discussing the objectives. The objectives that we set ourselves for this research are fourfold, each calling on different branches of the social sciences as so many contributing disciplines for an interdisciplinary project in the didactology of languages and cultures, which will be used in regard of methodologies appropriate to each of them and to their contextual application for an intervention research of an innovative type. So basically, our research will respond to a conceptual problem, and then that response is a form of participation in the educational field construction, which will lead us to act in response to a need. And once that need is met, we are going to be forming policies. We can do that by participating in the conceptual work on the definition of intercultural competences by proposing a specific model for student mobility based on the work carried out in the didactology of languages and cultures direction, participating in the construction of the educational field of student mobility training by offering a system integrating the achievements of pilot experiences in this field and based on a socio-political reflection on the issues of intercultural communication in Europe. The research will have a pragmatic dimension since it is designed as an action research in response to a social need, that of training students to optimize that mobility path. Now, the research implication that I propose has the same ethical objective as that of the research action in place, which is the eradication of distinction between theorists and practitioners, the removal of forma from their instrument of domination over the latter, by basically targeting cultural competencies that needs to be integrated as learning objectives within Erasmus program, which will help students and teachers from different parts of the world to be integrated within a unified yet mixed and special set of cultural attributes where the individual will be preserving their own culture, but then again exercising the local culture that will help them integrate within Europe and to be educationally beneficial to the objectives of the Erasmus program. The work of this research corresponds to a shift from educational experimentation and learning objectives to the construction of a reflection object, which postulates academic recognition for its author according to the skills criteria expected from students, especially those of postgraduate studies. It participates in the social strategy of an action research in that it aims to increase the social legitimacy of the educational field that we are trying to promote. We will only keep in mind the imperative of rigor, probity, and constant maintenance of a critical mind in the presentation of results, because it is precisely on point, not objectivity, but with the objectification and taking a critical distance that this work can acquire a scientific value, and thus postulating a second time to a taking in examination on behalf of the very institution which was the place of the experimentation that we've conducted as an element of political decision-making and as to the continuation of the educational process initiated. The objectives and hypotheses for this action research were very simple. The object of our action will be to build a university training course for active mobility, providing for recognition of the acquisition of skills for intercultural communication. Our hypothesis says that mobility has underestimated training potentials that an educational system promotes. It's possible to apply that to promote the acquisition of skills in terms of cultural objectives. Materials and methods were extracted and built around successive and progressive cycles. For more details, you can refer to the full paper. Our research motivates a critical review of the action and model in research, and the results reference to a system for identifying intercultural skills and the training system that is set for intercultural communication. The conclusion would be our ultimate objective/aim, a rationale and a rite of passage for social recognition, where students are no longer based on their educational skills, but also on their cultural competencies within these educational programs. With that, I invite you to visit the conference site, explore the research paper, and to understand the reality behind Erasmus program that invites students and teachers to participate in an educational experience embedded with political and cultural objectives. If those objectives are brought to light, expanded, and turned into a training, then there is a potential that Europe will be unified with these kind of educational programs, bringing a new citizen to their countries and ultimately building an economic stand. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my small expert. Again, extending my thanks to the international conferences in Ukraine, and stay safe.